I have considered the defense counsel's request for a further submission examination of the jury, and I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with our second submission examination. Alrighty then. No recess, nothing. We shall go through it. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman. We are, my lord. Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Alright, what's it gonna be this time, jurors? Hope you better have, good reasons. Some of you had, last time. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his.
If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Even if the woman's thrown books, it could be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it?
Okay, well that's an interesting statement right over there that we should focus on.
Dear me, it was only a little book. Hardly life-threatening, even with the direct hit.
Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble. Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneezes. Yes, considerably more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course. My learned student friend was unable to find fault in a previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, no one else was even at the scene to commit crime. Oh, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. If the witnesses are correct, I fail to see how it can be argued any other way.
That means, I'm afraid, that during the summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts.
But how? What do you even consider a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman, and how? Those 2 details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and the method by which the attack was conducted. A name and a method. I'm not gonna lie, it is a bit difficult to imagine. Still, how did it all happen? As it stands, the only witnesses, the only ones who could have done it, other than Natsume, would be Rolly or Pat, since they were there as well. And that I was thinking this might be hard. And as far as I can see, well, I guess besides, appearances, maybe? Is there a... Well, they do have some similarity between each other. Maybe they are relatives, maybe? Maybe there is a motive for why Rolly or Pat would kill Olive Green, but as of now, I don't really see that motive yet.
Listener, hold on. You have to do it. Otherwise, this really will be where the trial ends.
No pressure, no pressure. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the submission examination, please. Presume you are prepared, counsel. Yes, my lord. Alright, Ranowski. Focus your mind now. Yeah, there you go. There. Go for a double. Might as well go for a third one as well, just to be sure. Bam, bam, bam. Clear. The key to the submission examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid. Or should I say, Mrs. Garydepp. And the window.
We have a book that disappeared from Gardet's house on the evening of the incident, and a fourth book found in the victim's hand.
There must be a way to link the two. Yeah, and that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far. Whatever it takes.
Don't forget to keep an eye on Miss Gardet and how she reacts, even to the things other people say.
Okay then. Alrighty then. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his. But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yeah, that's the part I have a problem with. How so? Sorry? Well, at the point the woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fire scrap with his wife or something, you said. Ugh. Well, that's not exactly how I put it, no. Let's not make this go a disturbing direction. Well, anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened.
I think that's what you call a strong alibi.
So it couldn't have been the landlord who did it, which only leaves the Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I don't see what all this palaver's. I don't see what all this palaver's about. It's a done deal, isn't it? Palaver. That sounds like such a familiar word to me. I suppose it is, since I have nothing witty left to say. Yeah, you can use all of your wittiness that comes from your suitcase, Hironosuke, but sometimes you're gonna run out of them. So you might be willing to change your decision, I mean.
Oh my, such a delight on your face. But I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I am very modern, metropolitan, and a rational woman.
That's great, except for the racism stuff, but go on.
If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see, modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking. When you say...
And not at all extreme.
Yes, I see it. An overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite 1 or 2 minor puzzlements, I declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic. When you say...
Overwhelmingly irrational and quite stupid.
But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider inciting a new theory, if you could come up with one.
I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could. And we will, Ranosuke. We will. Let's just continue.
It's our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady.
Right. I'm glad you admit it's rational there. Even if the woman was throwing books, it cannot be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it? Okay, well this one should be interesting. But what about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? The prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Windows in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. Well, he is right. But despite that, there are certain situations where you would have to open the window nonetheless. I mean, I just did that like a couple of days ago. I was... Actually, I think I'm gonna explain this a little bit later. When the time comes. So no, that window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fires, staying warm, see? But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point in even having windows, huh? Council, will kindly refrain from childish bickering. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, if we were to ask that, then what's the point of even having like doors to begin with? What's the point of having like windows? We only have like walls around us. It will basically be like a prison. Somehow, I need to show there's a net. Well, even windows would have like their barred windows. It would be really cruel to not have windows in there as well. Somehow, I need to show there's an undeniable possibility that the window was open. Because this young man isn't going to budge otherwise. Okay then.
It was only a book.
But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not?
With flames of love, I'll have you know.
Well, if that's the way you interpret it, sure. There's really no such thing as loving a incendiary bomb.
Well, he brought it upon himself. It's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree?
Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Miss Gyrodub. Yeah, you better pay attention to this stuff, Yonosuke. When in the future you will have a girlfriend and such, just pay attention. Especially right now.
Never you mind that. The point is, we were just having a jovial little dispute. Nothing more. And I won't have any more of these suggestions there was anything whatsoever to do with this crime.
Alright, well, we'll see about that. But what about juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Miss Gyrodub's relentless onslaughts. Maybe he's used to that sort of stuff. Oh god. Marital problems. What can I say? Like, abuse.
It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is.
Well, gentle and, well, having his own problems at home. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble. You just want to get this over with? How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here. Well, him and me both then, like I said before. What? Okay, well we already went through this, Ryunosuke. I told you already. I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some goodies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in Thames tomorrow morning. What, are you working for Mafia over here? What the hell? What? You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about, you know. She can be fierce, believe me. Ah, okay. A much worse faith than Mafia, I guess. Another shining example of marital bliss then. A situation like this cropped up the other day. He was, well... You know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember. Sorry. What he's trying to say over here, Yonosuke, is he's suppressing his memory. He was too frightened. That's the thing. I must have blocked it out. Well, that's quite helpful.
I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the flames by his scarf.
Well, let's hope not. Don't even go there, Mr. Sato. There must be some way to jog his memory about this. Is that like another direction that we can go with? Like, I see the thing with the window that we have to focus on, and I guess another thing would have to be to focus on juror number 5's memory over here. So, hey, what's that? You'll have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? Huh? You want somebody to be hired? Oh, you meant fire. Yeah, it was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. Yeah, 75 candles on the top, it did. A sight to behold it was. You put candles on a cake? Was this some kind of devil worship? Yeah. Culture shock, I know. Of course not. It was an angel cake. To celebrate my birthday, obviously.
It seems that that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Miss Naruto.
Anyway, I immersed a lot of my puff to blow them out. Well, they must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out. The candles went flying all over the room. I'm sure they must have blown, like, quite a lot there. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke. It definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how did he catch a cold from fire? What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then, because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it up.
Ah,
The windows.
alright, well there you go.
The biting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. Put me in a hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry. Anyway, it was devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason.
We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street. As well as how he or she could have done it.
Yeah, but once again, the juror statements are full of personal prejudice. And oh boy, quite the prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary.
I think you're going to need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation.
I don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions. Just a connection might do the trick. Not necessarily need to find contradictions between them. Just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in first.
That's the spirit.
Okay, well, I can see a connection right over here about how the victim was stabbed. Like, we have this right over here. Actually, you know what? Let's pit him while at it. We're gonna pit him, and we're gonna pit juror number 6. Like, the winter house fires are dark. You have to open windows to clear the smoke. This is it! These two juror statements clearly contradict one another. Whee! They do? How exactly, counsel? Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me. What's that you say? Speak up, lad. Speak up. Juror number 3. Do you see? Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account for his birthday celebration last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Oh, of course. Because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Gardeb household. Mr. Gardeb had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke. Oh my, oh, hello there. You have a certain reaction there. Juror number 4, do you have something to say about that? Like we were about to conclude that, but okay. Mrs. Gardeb!
Down! Oh dear me. What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am?
It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now.
What is it?
When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window?
What? I beg your pardon? What are you insinuating?
Come on. Drop the pretense already. The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire, as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, what about opening the door instead of the window? That's... Stop interrupting my flow over here, man. Sorry.
And what if we did?
Oh, all right then.
Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which cannot have been easy, since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battery.
Even though your house was on fire.
Oh, you never start throwing until the anger subsides. It would be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise.
Yes, because damage to the nerves is definitely more important than damage to your whole body. Well, depending on the severity over there, like, damage to the nerve is also brutal, but in that case, nah, you definitely want to stop the fire first. Of course, I should have realized.
That's a significant step forward, Miss Naruto. You managed to establish that the window was open. Assume must have that added to Mrs. Gaidev's formal statement.
Okay. So we needed to get this new statement right over here. Let's see if we can use it against someone. The window was open at the time. I clean forgotten, but it's true. Well then, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, okay. I guess what other connection that I can make? An alternative explanation to how he was stabbed. Do you have nothing to say over here, Juror number 1? Like, so far we haven't made like any connection with you whatsoever. We didn't question him. Those 3 books of his. Like, one other connection that I can think of is, like, the marital problems. Like, we have this Juror number 5, and now we have a Juror number 4. Can I press this some more? The 4th book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garrett told us he had been reading.
Oh, I really can't say.
On the name question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading?
I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right.
Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset?
Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember it.
Hold on, okay, I think we poked the line a little bit too much after all this. Let's see if I can use some a little bit of tact right over here.
At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on. As well you know.
I mean, it's... Oh... Hold on. I do have something in mind right now. Hold on. Okay. Well, I guess we shall see if I'm right, but... Like, I'm not gonna say it like right now, I'm just gonna give it like a hint. Like, if you find like a book like near you to throw it. Like as she says, she'll pick anything that was around her. Imagine whatever other stuff you would throw like out the window that would land where Olive Green was, beside the book. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting possibility, but I guess we shall see. I really don't. Yeah, in which case, if I oh, hold on a second. Hey, what up, yo? Did you remember something? What is it, juror number 5? You know something? I remember what it was. That Maria blocked out. Ah. I was listening to what this granny was saying, but it all flew back.
What are you calling a granny? You cheeky devil. I'm Mrs. Garrideb, or the maid, I'll have you know.
I love that. Now she's accepting that she's calling herself Mrs. Garrideb. The man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time. Oh. It was about 2 weeks ago now. I just got back home after work, like. I put my hand in my pocket for the wages I just earned that day. And I nearly died. There was a hole, and every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster.
I know, right?
You haven't heard a hell, boy. Oh? The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. Could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost the days' wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear, stuck into the wall next to me, it about an inch deep. No words, just terror. I could smell them, you know, that god-awful stench of the flames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. No, that's a real disaster, isn't it?
You're number 5. Can I hug you?
I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it. Yeah, did bring up... okay, I probably should work this like a lot better. You do make me think of something that I've been thinking of like a second ago. About a new possibility that I'm thinking of. When you mentioned those words. Knives, hatchets, hammers. Indeed.
Miss Naradon, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and refined.
No, I wasn't thinking that.
You did flinch there for a second there. You were taking a long break there before you continued talking there, Ranosuke. Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like.
Attack?
Who are you going to attack? Well, who else? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think.
Alright. Well, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare. Like after this trial. The kitchen knife really brought that home to me. Like, can I even make like a connection here? Or, hold on a second. Okay. Juror number 2 did talk about an alternative explanation for how the victim was stabbed. I guess we're making the connection like right now. Okay. So, I'm thinking that we should pit him against juror number 2. That way we can go for the explanation that maybe Olive Green died by having Miss Garrideb throw like something like a knife at olive green from all the way from her floor, and that knife landed on Olive Green's back. That could be how she died. Well, died. I keep forgetting that that Olive Green is actually alive. Again, we are so used to having people die in these cases. I forget that Olive Green is is actually in coma right now. She's still alive, and like every single time I say her name, like I'm trying my best to like make sure that I'm not saying olive oil instead of olive green. Those two statements clearly have a deeply significant connect. Good grief, man! You're having like a seizure right now. You are clearly breaking down in front of us. Okay, juror number 2. Do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative?
Oh my. Whatever do you mean?
An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We demonstrated that the fourth book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Gardev's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Gardev house wall to the street below. Well, what's that now? Now that I'm thinking about it, well, actually, there's still, like, if there were like any initials right over here, we clearly could have made like a connection right over here. Like, as of now, it still feels circumstantial. Like, we're just throwing a possibility right over here, so we gotta think of a conclusive evidence that tells us that, yes, that is exactly what happened. Is that no? After all, Mrs. Gardev could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4?
What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole?
Beanpole? Also, I am pretty curious. Like, I've been curious about this for a really long time, but did Vidyanovsky break his arm at some point? I mean, it seems that way. He has that bandage on his left hand. He had that probably since the beginning. Like, I think that it was ever since we begun this entire career. He had that. I wonder what is the origin of that. I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now you're just listening, you Simka. As a foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. He goes this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house. But what? What was it? You're taking a big gamble here. I mean, that was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Gardev household to the scene of the crime was the knife. Juror number 4, Mrs. Gardev.
What? What now?
I must apologize in advance for this, but I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before?
Ah.
Good Lord, counsel. What on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged into the victim's back, man. Yes, indeed. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Gardev were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Gardev was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against a window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. You cannot seriously believe that. The book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it flew out the window and across the street to land neatly in her hands? Well, near her? Huh. Even my missus hasn't got a name like that. Oh, you're saying that it cannot be possible to fly all the way up there? Yeah, I mean, there are many deals we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why we must not allow this trial to end. Not right now.
Oh my!
Mrs. Gardep, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before, or not?
Oh! Ah!
Oh my.
My lord! I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all.
Thank you, madam. Yeah, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end, now with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman! You're such a kind man. Shut it! I have to agree. Not that I think the granny did it, mind.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either.
All together now, ladies and gents.
Alright, well that's good.
Now we're back on track once again. We did it! Second time!
Yep, and we can do it a third time, and a fourth time, and a fifth time.
How many times we need?
Congratulations, Miss Narada.
So, as a result of the defense's submission examination, the number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty, against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. And so this trial will continue. Now then, Lord Van Zieks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant. It's good for nothing, save the gutter. Oh boy. Time to prepare yourself for another strike, Koronosuke. What's it gonna be? If I may, Lord Van Zieks. The defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible. Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond. Well, let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed.
What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time?
I think that he's talking about the distance that was mentioned before. It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garidev household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Garidev's house to the scene is some... yes, 15 yards.
Let me see. 15 yards. That's around 14 meters.
I mean, Mrs. Garidev is a strong person. She has quite a nice throw, especially when she's angered, so... 14 meters. So farther than I imagined. And, as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted as having portentous significance, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book wantonly hurled by the lady of the house traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the cleft victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? Well, I don't know about the book being clutched between Olive Green's fingers as a problem. I mean, it could have been that it was thrown like right in front of her, like Olive Green decided to pick it up, because, well, that would be kind of a reaction that you would have when something like that happens. You wouldn't leave a book there. You would pick it up like in the spur of the moment. And when it happened, bang! A knife just got stabbed in her back as it was thrown. Maybe the distance is something questionable, but I guess we shall see about that. And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the victim of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. There's nothing I can say to that.
That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice.
Subtle.
Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he?
Maybe let's pick our bells here.
My lord, might I be allowed to speak?
Susato to the rescue. Mr. Judicial Assistant, you may speak for the defense. Yes. Go ahead.
The prosecution may consider the idea of fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible.
Yeah. I mean, excluding the whole clutching the book in our hands, I think that, I guess the main problem for this would be the distance between the two. It is possible that the body was moved from one place to another, I guess.
To that end, Juror number 4, Mrs. John Gaideb, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination.
Saints alive! Cross-examination of a juror? Yeah, I mean, does it say in the rule book that a juror is not allowed to be cross-examined? I don't think so. Order! 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 Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
And unnecessary. Lord Van Zix. There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. That's true. Like, if these two have anything to do with it, they would totally have seen the knife and the book being thrown. Maybe. What say you, witnesses?
Yes, sir. Constable Rolly Beat reporting for duty, sir.